So, what if I told you there's this amazing statistical tool that can slice right through all the confusion in scientific research and find one single clear answer? I mean, a tool so powerful it has literally saved hundreds of thousands of lives by finding the truth when it was buried in conflicting data. Well, today, that's what we're talking about, meta-analysis.
To really get why this is so important, let's start with a story. It's a story that shows exactly what's at stake when we can't see the big picture. A heartbreaking, preventable tragedy that unfolded for decades, right out in the open. You know, for almost half a century, parents were often told to put their babies to sleep on their stomachs. It was even in Dr. Spock's famous baby book. But at the very same time, little bits of evidence started showing up suggesting that this advice was dangerously wrong and was linked to sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. The quote you're looking at right now, well, it reveals the staggering cost of not putting all that evidence together much sooner.
100,000. Let that sink in. That's the estimated number of babies who died from SIDS while all this conflicting advice was swirling around. You had different studies that seemed to say different things, which created so much confusion for doctors and, of course, for parents. It was this massive scientific puzzle, and the stakes could not have been higher.
And that right there is the million-dollar question. The individual pieces of the puzzle, they were out there, scattered across dozens of different research papers. But if you looked at them one by one, the overall picture was just murky. You know, some studies showed a strong link, others a weak one, and some just seemed inconclusive. This is what we call scientific noise. So how do you deal with all that noise? Well, that is precisely the problem that meta-analysis was created to solve. It's a method for taking a giant step back and looking at the entire body of evidence all at once, so you can overcome the limits of just a single study.
To put it simply, a meta-analysis isn't about doing brand new research. Nope. Instead, it takes all the existing, high-quality research on one specific question and combines all their results using math. You can think of it as a study of studies, and it's really the hero of our story today.
This is the absolute perfect way to think about it. Any one study is just a single tree. It might be a big, strong tree or a small one. You just can't understand the health of the entire forest by staring at one tree. Meta-analysis is what gives us that helicopter view, that bird's-eye perspective of the whole landscape. Okay, so how does this incredibly powerful tool actually work? How does it take all that messy scientific noise and turn it into one clear signal? Let's break it down with a really classic medical case study. So, for 30 years, researchers were testing this clot-busting drug called streptokinase. Over that time, they ran 33 different clinical trials, but the results were just all over the map. So, was the drug a lifesaver or was it useless? For decades, nobody had a clear, definitive answer. Now take a look at this chart. I know, it looks a little complicated at first, but stick with me. It's called a forest plot, and it is the heart and soul of a meta-analysis. On this one chart, we can see all 33 studies at once, our entire scientific forest. Let's decode this thing together. First, step 1. Each little square you see here is the result from one single study. Now that vertical line in the middle is key. If a square is to the left of the line, it means the drug helped save lives in that study. Notice something? Most of them are on the left. That's our first big clue. Okay, step 2. We weigh the evidence. See how the squares are different sizes? The bigger the square, the larger and more reliable the study was. So those bigger studies get more weight, kind of like a bigger vote in the final tally. And now for step 3, the summary. See that little diamond at the very bottom? That's the grand finale. It's the combined weighted average of all 33 studies. It is the final, definitive answer we've been looking for.
Okay, now let's see how this all comes together for that incredible aha moment. This is where the power of meta-analysis just completely blows the old, confusing way of thinking out of the water.
Before we had meta-analysis, scientists used this simple but pretty flawed method called vote counting. Basically, they just count up how many studies found a statistically significant result. You know, a result that was really unlikely to be just a random fluke. For streptokinase, only 6 out of the 33 trials were considered significant. So, for 30 years, the official conclusion was just, the evidence is conflicting, inconclusive, a dead end.
And here is the payoff. Even though only 6 of those studies were considered significant on their own, the meta-analysis, represented by that diamond on the chart, found something incredible.
When you properly combined all the evidence, it revealed a clear, consistent, and statistically undeniable 21% reduction in the risk of death for heart attack patients.
So here's the crucial point. That life-saving signal was there the whole time, but it was just buried in the noise of all those smaller individual studies. Meta-analysis was the tool that finally allowed us to filter out all that noise and hear the signal loud and clear.
And you know, this isn't just a story about medicine. The power of meta-analysis to synthesize all this evidence and find the real truth is totally transforming how we understand things across countless different fields.
I mean, everything from figuring out the best teaching methods in schools, like do smaller class sizes really help, to what therapies work best in psychology or which policies actually reduce crime. Meta-analysis is now the gold standard. It helps us make much, much better decisions based on the totality of the evidence, not just the latest study that happens to make the headlines.
And that really leaves us with a final, important question to think about. In our world of total information overload, where we're constantly hit with single studies about what to eat or how to exercise or how to live, this tool reminds us to step back and ask a much bigger question. What does the entire body of evidence say? Because sometimes the most important truths are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to finally see the whole forest.